We've been talking to a lot of Atlanta Braves players lately. We had a chance to catch up with two of my favorite players, Jeff Francoeur and Brian McCann, but guess who else showed up? Their dads. You really want to stay tuned for this. It's extremely entertaining and very informative. So stay tuned to Clubhouse Gas. Jeff, thank you for joining us, buddy.
Thank you all for having me.
I want to talk to you real quick about what it was like coming up playing baseball, your youth baseball experience. Was there a coach? Was there a family member that had a particular influence on your life to help you get to this point?
Well, I think two people. My dad, obviously, first and foremost, has been with me, knows my swing better than anybody. And then my high school baseball coach, Coach Hugh Buchanan, who was at Parkview with me for all 4 years. And he's actually a scout now for the Braves. But he helped me get to where I am, just to know how to play the game, to play it the right way. More than anything, I still say to people today, it is a business, but you have to have fun. And if you don't have fun, then you know what? You're not in it for the right reasons.
At what age did you realize, baseball's what I want to do? I know that you're a big-time football player, but at what point did you realize either baseball or football, I'm going to play this at the next level?
About 16 or 17. When I came back from the U.S. Junior National Trials and I went to Cuba with a team, and you started seeing guys that were a year above me that I played with them, and they were getting drafted in the first, second round. I was like, I'm kind of up there with them, and so you could tell that, you had an opportunity, but like anything, you got to stay healthy and you got to get the right breaks, and I was able to do that.
I'm ready to play today. Put me in cold.
I think as a parent, you want what's best for your kid. In fact, sometimes you hurt more than your kid does when he or she makes a decision like that. And I think when Jeff did that, I sat back and I said, I have two things here I can do. One, I can say, you're not quitting, and I'm going to push you to continue to do it. Or number two, I'm going to sit back and say, geez, why all of a sudden does this come up? Because I could see his skills improving every year, but this wasn't about skills, this wasn't about playing time, this was about getting burned out of a sport. And I think as a parent, at that point I felt like I was at a crossroads, Bill. I felt like I was either going to push him into something that he didn't want to do, which may kill his appetite for the sport, or back off and work with my kid. I mean, who knows their kid better than you as a parent? And I felt like at that time in his life, this was the time to back off. And the next year, we went and played golf. We did all those kinds of things that Jeff said. And the next year he came back, I want to play. And he came back hungrier than he had ever been before. I think sometimes you have to lose something before you really understand what it is that you've lost. And I think what he found was his love of the game.
Talk about your youth sports experience, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. Was there a coach? Was there a family member that had a particular influence on your life?
My dad coached me. He coached at Marshall University as a head coach there. When his off season, he come coach us. So I owe a lot of my success to my dad. He's made a lot of sacrifices for me and my brother.
One of the coolest things for me was when I was at Georgia, we wore Wilson uniforms. So the Wilson rep made 2 uniforms for my 2 boys. And if we won, our head coach let him run the bases. And so it's kind of cool your kids show up in a Georgia uniform with their numbers. And so he used to come watch us all the time.
You remember being around the ballpark a lot early?
Oh, yeah. I was praying to God that his team won, so me and my brother could have some fun. If they lost, he wasn't a happy camper. So
yeah.
when they won, it was great. When they lost, it wasn't so good.
My first memory that probably always sticks with me was when I was 5 years old playing for the Pirates in T-ball. And back then you used to have a tee and you get 4 hits off the coach pitch, and then you get 3 off the tee if you don't hit it. So about 3rd or 4th game in, I'd never had a hit off the tee yet, and I missed the 4 pitches that the coach threw to me, and so they were bringing the tee out, and my dad said, no, you can't hit off the tee. And I said, what do you mean? And I started getting real mad at him because he wasn't going to let me use the tee, and he said, you've hit all year without a tee and you've hit fine. You're either going to learn how to hit the ball or you're going to sit down like you do when you strike out. So I ended up taking the next 2 pitches because I was mad and I didn't even want to prove a point. And I struck out and it made me sit down. I started crying and I was all mad. But
really started getting into baseball 3 or 4. Always was a good hitter. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to play baseball and go out and hit and watch it on television and try to be the best player he could be.